So looking at the Maschine Mk3, it's probably important to get an understanding of how it came to be and where it came from historically. So first, let's talk about what has been added to it and what's amazing about it. The screens, first and foremost. So having the screens, being able to navigate and browse through your stuff really quick and easy and have it look beautiful and enjoyable to browse, that's really important. You'll see why in a second. Secondly, the pads. The pads are bigger. There's new sensor technology. They are just easier to play for beginners and advanced users in general. You have this great new touch strip that has all sorts of different functions, pitch, mod, performance effects, notes mode, all this kind of stuff. And on the back, you have audio interface now. So you have inputs and outputs for microphone, line in, line out, headphones. So you can basically take Maschine and go anywhere with your laptop and be able to play. In addition to that, there is a plug to power it up to make it marginally more bright, except however, you don't need that. It can be powered right off of the USB. Very nice. And then lastly too, there is this 4-way directional encoder, which really helps speed up the browsing process and takes care of a lot of options. So if we look at what the Mark III has replaced, it is essentially the Mark II. And the Mark II expanded upon the Mark I original design. So this is what the original kind of Maschine was made of. And you'll notice one quick thing here, first of all. So the pads are larger, but they're not farther away. So they're the same distance between your fingers and the center point, but just larger and easier to hit. So that's important if you're trying to use like 3 fingers on a pad. You can see it's already a little cramped here. The screens. Big difference between these beautiful screens with the high-res display as opposed to just kind of an LED readout of some parameters. Not fun at all. So that's a major difference right there. The other kind of machines that were available, the smaller Maschine Mk3, a very good choice if you need to be extremely portable. However, you lose that entire row of parameters and knobs. So it can be a little goofy. Try to get to a function, you might have to like click, turn, click, turn, and then be able to adjust the parameter as opposed to just grabbing the knob and doing it right away. But if you need extreme portability and a really small size, this was always a great option. Moving on, let me grab my Studio. So when the Studio came out, huge upgrade. I mean, look at the big screens over the Mark II. That was the big calling point, but a lot more buttons that had their own individual options, a nice control for levels on all of your different sound levels, a big old jog wheel with arrows to kind of maneuver quickly, and really, obviously, the screens was the big draw. But then this thing is huge. You can't really take it on the go. You know, you got to power it in with a power supply to make it run, all that kind of stuff. So a really formidable machine, but a lot of what Mark III has added has kind of helped with that. And then lastly, Maschine Jam. So Maschine Jam came out and introduced things that the regular machines didn't do as good. For instance, like step sequencing along a linear grid. This many buttons, 64 button matrix, so you can actually choose through your patterns in each group and really quickly mess with arrangements. These great smart strips to do all sorts of things like control your levels, or interesting thing like notes mode, where you can even strum through instruments, and performance effects, which give you a lot more dynamic control with just one finger. So a lot of great control from this. And then we come back to Mark III, and you kind of realize that a lot of the best of all the machines have been condensed now into the original form factor, a great size that fits in your laptop bag, gives you the options like touch strips, screens, I mean, all that kind of stuff. Lock feature that the Jam had. 4-way encoder, which is kind of like the jog wheel on steroids, etc. So great unit. And let's get into it and learn why it's so awesome.